This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 328, 8 Crazy Nights, a turd of a human.
Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the number one place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode.
Hey there, animation addicts. My name is Chelsea Robson.
And I'm Morgan Stradling.
I have never seen 8 Crazy Nights. And you know what? I started out thinking, I always wondered how someone would make a film about Hanukkah. And after it all, I'm still wondering.
They didn't. He did not. This was totally a bait and switch. I was disappointed because I was looking forward to we're doing our Hanukkah episode.
Right.
Where was other than the ice menorah?
Right.
And did this occur over 8 nights? We will get into that. Okay. We will get into all of this.
All the questions.
This is the Animation Addicts Podcast. We are excited to be back. This is the end of our holiday season. We've done quite a few Christmas specials and perfectly lined up that Hanukkah was very late this year, starting on the 25th. And so made perfect sense that we release this review of 8 Crazy Nights, a film that I never had any desire to see. It was always never on my radar, yet here we are.
Here we are.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
All right, before we get started, let's give some general information about this film. The production studios are Columbia Pictures and Happy Madison Productions. Happy Madison Productions is Adam Sandler's production company. There also was a spin-off division that was created, an animation, Happy Madison Animation, I believe it was called, but this was its one and only film. No wonder. The distributor, Sony Pictures Releasing. The director was Seth Kearsley. Release date, November 27th, 2022. The budget, $34 million, and this was considered a box office bomb, making just $23.8 million. Now, one of the reasons for this is that and the reasons that they claim the people involved, Adam Sandler, I don't remember if Seth specifically said this, but one of the reasons they said, it failed for these reasons. Well, it came out against Treasure Planet. And if you recall, Treasure Planet also was a bomb. It was also a box office bomb. Yeah. But then also the same weekend, it came out against Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So I think that was the big family film to take away. And then if you weren't going to see Harry Potter, then you were going to see Treasure Planet. And then if you weren't going to see either of those, maybe you saw this. I think the problem that this film has is that I'm an Adam Sandler fan, and the Adam Sandler audience is very male driven. They're into the potty humor, the gross humor. It's just that, there are movies for that group. It's
the teenage boy era, like
those that continue to love that lifestyle into their 20s and 30s. He was in his 30s at this point. I'm like, Adam, this is really where you want to go with this? You're still doing this? Okay. Like the poop jokes never stopped.
Never.
And we're hitting the Adam Sandler crowd. We're gonna make it animation, so we're also gonna hit the family friendly crowd. However, it's rated PG-13.
Yeah.
And it's around Hanukkah, so you're thinking like, it's going to be so, but maybe not because it's Adam Sandler, so he's going to flip it on his head. So trust me, there are a variety of reasons why this flopped. And yeah, it just wasn't good. I was watching this and I was kind of excited. I turned it on. I said, kids went to bed. I put it on. I said, hey, I'm gonna turn this on. Normally my husband is not into the animated films, but I told him which one. He's like, oh yeah, I used to watch that. And so he turned it on and he had seen it. I had not. And he didn't really have a problem with it. I was just like, this is gross.
I know.
Why is it this way? This is not even fun to enjoy. It just kept getting grosser and grosser. And I totally get the teenage boy crowd would love that.
Right.
But for me, as I'm like, okay.
There's not very many moms that are wanting to take their under 13-year-old boys or girls to this. So you've really narrowed your audience and narrowed your potential market cap. So it's understandable.
If we just could have still done maybe the raunchy humor and cut out the poop crap, I think it would have been a lot more digestible.
Probably the poop crap. Yes.
The pun was intended.
Oh yeah. I think that if I would have gone into this, I was honestly thinking, I was like, okay, how is this Hanukkah related? And I was wanting some kind of Hanukkah movie, like a movie that I could think about as Hanukkah. And I'm like, this is absolutely not it.
Right. Yeah.
So
where's my Hanukkah movie?
Right.
If I would apparently the best Hanukkah movie we have is there was a Rugrats Hanukkah special. So that's the best animated Hanukkah film that we're going to currently get, because this one did not do it for me, other than being set in, the holiday season. And they really, they mix it with Christmas and Hanukkah, which obviously they overlap. Right. But there was a funny joke where they're like, who here is celebrating Christmas? And everyone raised their head.
Everyone's like, yeah,
who's celebrating Hanukkah? It was like one table. I thought that was funny.
I laughed too. Like that one's a good one.
And really regional, depending on there are some cities that would have a much heavier, arm raising presence. But I think for most cities, USA, unless you're in an area that's very close to a synagogue or heavy Jewish presence, that's probably, that's very indicative of what the result would be.
Yes, I would assume. And if I would have gone in thinking Billy Madison in general, I would have had a better expectation for this movie.
Is Billy Madison like gross and potty humor?
No,
I don't remember that.
I mean, it's not. I mean, you have the whole like you peed in your pants, that joke. You have some of those in there, but I don't think so. I think they were trying to really get like the young little boys with the potty, with like the poop jokes.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to like, how many little boys can we reach with this? The whole beginning was really jarring for me, which I think was definitely the point. Like they wanted to set a precedence of like, this is what we're like, walk out now if you don't want to be here kind of thing. Like specifically the moment he starts humping his car, like, it's just like, okay.
Once that happens, I'm like, yep, we're in an Adam Sandler movie.
Okay, here we are.
Even the animation, it's as if Adam Sandler had gotten older. He wanted to play a younger version of himself, but since he was, he wasn't a strapping young lad anymore, he's like, let's just animate it. Because there's times when they're playing shirts and skins basketball. He takes off his shirt and he's like not totally ripped.
He looks good though.
A very great figure for a man. And it's like, okay, Adam. I know the character isn't named Adam Sandler, but it is Adam Sandler. Davy Stone is just modeled after Adam Sandler. So it's like, okay, I see we're projecting here.
Oh man, I was watching this, and the moment he said he was 33 years old, I was like, this is the summation of my dating pool. It's ugly out there. It's not pretty. And I kept doing the math. He said he was 33, and later on it said that he was 12 when his parents died, and then I assume that she was the same age, which like her little story with that one, like they purposely didn't go anywhere with the whole thing, and they just stopped it after after the little party, after Whitey got his happy ending, which I felt was really nice, and Whitey is the constant character, and Davy is the character that changes over time to be able to to think less of himself and now about somebody else. And so it's like, okay, I really appreciate that this had an arc and this had an actual story. And I can also appreciate for the young boys that would have liked the concept of it. Like when you said that your husband really liked it in his teens, I was like, that makes sense. Like the whole, not your husband, but just like teen boys, it's like, this is something that they would absolutely just be like, oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So the movie stars Adam Sandler as Davy Stone. He's this 33-year-old alcoholic miscreant. He lives in a small New Hampshire town, and he gets into some trouble. And so Whitey is this very kind old man who's, instead of him going to jail, says, hey, why doesn't he do some community service where he's going to go be training to be a referee, for this local league. And this is something that Whitey has done for the city or the town for decades. He's a kind of a staple. And it follows kind of this, not like a Christmas Carol arc, but it's kind of trying to evoke that in a way where he ends up having a heart. It turns out he has a heart of gold. He's not a jerk the whole time. And there's reasons why he's grumpy. Yes, misunderstood. And but it never really delivers on that. He's really a jerk of a character and an unlikable character for the majority of the time. I don't really like him. He's just, and then when you find, oh wow, his parents died, it still doesn't make it okay. Sometimes there's reveals like that where you're like, oh, that makes sense, but he's still just a terrible person all around.
Yeah. It's hard. He is a little hard to root for. Because I think that the reveal of his parents dying came a little too late. I think that should have come a little bit earlier for you to just be like, oh, okay, I kind of get this. And it would have also shown a little bit more with Whitey, because it's like, obviously that's why he stepped up and was like, okay, I'm going to help this kid finally after all these 7 years, I guess, or no, 20 years. How sad. Like to to think like after 20 years of living your life this way, it's just like, that's really sad. Like, okay. Yeah, I do like the fact they had Rob Schneider as the narrator. I was like, I kept
and
hearing
the Asian guy,
and the Asian guy, of course.
Like, gotta bring in your friends.
I mean, yeah, of course, he's got his standard people that he works with, and I like Rob Schneider. He's a good guy, and I was like, hey, it's Rob. Okay,
yeah, I think you're right. The problem is the parents' reveal comes way too late. And then the moment where he finds the Hanukkah card from the parents and has this catharsis, or cathartic moment, that emotional release comes so late that it doesn't pay off. This transformation that he's supposed to have doesn't feel earned. It just kind of happens. And another thing about this is that there's songs throughout.
Yeah, that
some of which are kind of cool, kind of good. There's a lot of things that's like, wow, I kind of like what you're going for here, but then none of them really pan out in the end.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I was wondering about, because there were moments when I was like, okay, that is Adam Sandler singing, and then there's other moments where I was like, that is not Adam Sandler singing.
Right.
Like, and I felt sad because I was like,
it says
like,
in the
if you're gonna stick it, like if you're gonna do it, stick to it.
It says it's him for all of these.
I don't think it is. I'm just gonna say that. Like, there's a tone. There is a basis point that I'm like, I pull my, that is BS card.
All right, we had a ghost singer.
I think there is. I mean, and if it was him, I felt like he probably could. I don't know. You're just so used to him singing the way he does that it's like you feel like his voice. And I like Adam Sandler's voice. I like him singing. I like, the Hanukkah song. These are all things that I'm like, okay, I've heard you sing. I've heard you try to put these on, but it's like, okay, if it is you doing these other ones, you're like putting on a very different voice, which is not
something we've never seen before. And you saved.
Yeah.
Something you've never seen before, but you saved just for this movie to give us that you're like the incredibly talented singer.
Right. Which you really shouldn't have, if that's the case. Like, you should have just stuck with your like normal songs, because people like that. Like, I mean, if you're wanting to improve your vocal, hey, who am I to say you shouldn't? You should. But it just seems out of character.
I mean, I cannot find any reveals saying that, hey, it was actually somebody else, but hey, this could definitely be a hidden
Chelsea,
a Hollywood hidden mystery. Yeah. So here's the different songs that are in this. The first one's called Davy's Songs at the Mall, which is just like product placement of all classic 2000s mall stores up the wazoo, which supposedly he didn't have the permission to do that. He just did.
Oh, okay. That actually does make sense, though. Like, I can see him doing that. But I was also wondering, like, did any of them pay for this?
Yeah.
They probably didn't if he didn't have permission.
Yeah. And then Patch Song, Long Ago, which is, with him and the girl. And the rest of the eight.
That was a song that I was like, are you sure that's him?
Like the really emotional moments. That's where you're questioning it. Technical Foul was really funny.
That was
a funny one. Intervention Song, Bum Biddy, liked that one. And then, of course, the song that started it all, the Hanukkah song.
Yay.
Now this, from, back in the day, they used to put out CD recordings of stand-up comedians sets, and he also did a lot of songs. This one was written for Saturday Night Live, and he did it on Saturday Night Live, but he kind of branched this out into a movie. Yes, this is called this one it's called the Hanukkah Song Part 3.
Because he's like, here's a new list of people who are Jewish.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, part Part 1 was in 1994. That appeared on his 1996 comedy album, What the Heck Happened to Me? And he references a whole bunch of people. Part 2, 1999. This was recorded live for the 1999 album, Stan and Judy's Kid. And then finally, Part 3, 8 Crazy Nights soundtrack, lists a whole bunch of people. And Part 4 was released in 2015. He performed another live version at the New York Comedy Festival and did it there. And yeah, so there we go.
There you go.
But another thing that inspired this movie, so there was the Hanukkah song, which obviously became very popular. It's done 2 different iterations, obviously done it many times over the years. But then the voice of Whitey on one of his specials, his CD specials, he had this character called Whitey, and he just loved it and people loved it. And so then he decided to turn it into something bigger. So in case you're wondering, why is Adam Sandler voicing everybody? Well, 1, it's his movie, so who's going to voice the main guy? Right. 2, it's his character, so he's going to voice them, even though it's a very kind of screechy voice that's kind of hard to listen to over time. You get used to it, but you're like, what is happening here? And then the sister of Whitey, they couldn't find someone that really worked, and so Adam Sandler is doing her voice as well. So Eleanor Duval. So he's just raking it all in, getting one big paycheck for this.
Or just saving money.
I think he does kind of a better job with Eleanor than Whitey, just because Eleanor is not so over the top.
Yeah.
With Whitey, it's obvious that it's Adam.
Yes.
Like,
I actually didn't think that it was him for Eleanor. Mm-hmm. So, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, this was quite the travel. Quite the little road.
So the animation is interesting. So talking about another point where there's some interesting things going on here, but then it feels odd. So it has this Warner Brothers animation style that that reminds me of the Iron Giant. The characters feel very Iron Giant to me. You know, that's a Brad Bird film, and you know, they create their own. It's not like Warner Brothers had a style per se, but I think because this also was the Warner Brothers studio was involved with this. There actually were quite a few studios that animated for this because they needed to get it across the line. We had Anvil Studios, A-Film/AS, Bartle Entertainment, Golden Bell Animation, Marina Motion Animation, Spath Animation, Tama Productions, Time Lapse Pictures, Warner Brothers Animation, YR Studio, and Yowza Animation. So there's a whole bunch of studios they brought in. And at first, it feels very rotoscoped to me. The characters, they're just too good. Like maybe it's just because there's such an uncanny resemblance with Adam Sandler.
Movement is a little too smooth.
Yeah, I don't know, but then I've done the research. It doesn't appear that it was rotoscoped, but maybe there was reference footage, because there's times where I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like the Don Bluth background character that we all know are rotoscoped. So, but the animation is actually really good. I'm like, this animation has no business being this good, especially of Whitey, who's a little bit more cartoony of a character. So you really can get away from this like uncanny rotoscoped valley with him, because he's just not a true human. I mean, he's a human, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's very much a juxtaposition between his design and the more realism of Davy's design and all the other characters essentially in this. It's very beautiful at times. The coloring, the way they do these harsh shadows, it just looks very polished and professional. And I was just shocked continually as I was watching this. The only other thing that just is off, which seems like we've never been able to figure this out, is the transportation, the CGI, transportation, specifically cars.
The rotors.
They're just too smooth. They're too smooth, even though I know you trace back over it and it's rotoscoped. And I've yet to fall for it. There's yet been a good one that works for me. But yeah, what do you feel about the animation?
I definitely agree with it feels like the Iron Giant. I also feel like it was very good. I don't have any qualms with it, and I do understand you're saying that this feels too good for this movie because, like, especially going into like the poop jokes and everything, and it's just like, did this have to be this like quality?
Well, yeah. So one of the things with Whitey is that he's helping out at a construction site. Is that, you clean up the poopers. So he starts to do that, but he gets stuck in. And then Davy, being a total garbage human that he is, he pushes him down. He gets covered in poop, and then he sprays him with water, so it gets frozen poop all over him.
Ugh.
And then the deer come and they start licking the poop, and then we're continuing. We're not letting this joke go. They smile and they have poop crap in their teeth, and it's like, oh my gosh, stop.
Like, do deer eat poop? Like, is that what they're trying to say? Like, I don't know.
I've never heard this.
I don't know. Like, once again, this was like we got to get the 8-year-old boys in there. So I don't know. Yeah, I just felt like this was like this is one for the 8-year-olds. No, the 4-year-olds. Let's bring in the 4-year-olds.
Yes.
Oh man. There were a lot of funny jokes, like especially when they go into the mall and he's just making all of his mall jokes, and like you have the moment where he runs into the mayor, and he was like, okay, Mr. Mayor, like, to answer your question, Spencer's Gifts, they have the furry underwear. Like, you have all these things, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then with Whitey, he's just a furry beast of a man.
Yeah.
It's like so gross when they're in the locker room and he's changing and the furry bum. Stop it. Why? I'm sure the guys were just cracking up about this. I don't know. And then he's basically a woolly mammoth. Yeah. There's other times where you see him, his chest, and it's likewise covered.
Everything except for his like his little belly at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I just realized, like, this was not meant for us, Morgan. Not intended for us.
So why did you want to watch this one? Because you fell for the marketing. You got duped?
I guess, yeah. It was on the list, and it was like, I'd never seen it, and I like Adam Sandler, and I feel like I was like, oh, it's Christmas time, seasonal holidays. Well, I've never seen the Hanukkah, the 8 Crazy Nights. It feels like there should be some type of Hanukkah relation there, other than, no, this is like the Christmas Hallmark movies where it has nothing to do with Christmas. It's just set at Christmas time, which means you have like a Christmas tree in the background, and that's the extent of Christmas that is involved. Right. And so I was like, okay, that's what this is all about. And okay, you're showing a picture of the cover, and he's like hanging from his own little like Airstream. Like, like this picture made it seem like there was some kind of magical little happening, with reindeer, I fell for it, Morgan.
Yes. I know you think, okay, so what's so crazy? Is there going to be a magical, another one of these is he's throwing a snowball at the camera. It says 8 Crazy Nights. I don't believe there was a snowball fight in this movie.
I don't think so.
But you're totally right. With this poster, one of the main ones, this Airstream is flying into the sky. He's dragging Whitey, the sister, a menorah, a Christmas tree. There's a reindeer on top. It's like, whoa, all the shenanigans. This is going to be great. The ultimate battle between naughty and nice. Was it?
Right. Like, what?
Such a disappointment, because this could have been pretty, like, 8 Crazy Nights. Did I miss something? Did this occur over 8 nights?
Yes, I don't know if it did over 8 nights, but I know that they were talking about it's happening
leading up to Christmas. Yeah.
Well, it's happening over Hanukkah. And so it's like, at least it started on day 3 or something, or at least that's when they meet the son. Then he's like, oh, look what I got. And he had the Game Boy. And so here's a question I have for...
But like, they weren't crazy.
Right.
The only thing crazy was the poop shenanigans. That it kept happening, and that he was just a turd of a human.
Yeah.
Go with the poop.
The sexual innuendos too. I'm like, okay.
They're like zooming in on her butt.
Who is this for? Like, I that was the question. I'm like, well, once you say that it's PG-13, then it's like, okay. All right. But you still are trying to bring in like that younger crowd. Well, I think it feels like you are.
They were explicitly like cutting a bunch of stuff out that were even more raunchier. So that way it wouldn't be R, because they were going for this family friendly audience, or this
audience
that watches animated films. They should have just kept They should have gone full R with this.
Yes.
That way it's very clear what this is. And the people who are into that are going to be like,
the
okay,
South Park crowd,
this is my
out.
movie.
The Captain America crowd, not Captain America,
Captain America.
You know what I'm talking about.
What version are you watching?
what's the all right, rated R animated movies. It's the
stop motion puppet America. Team America World Police.
That's so it's like I'm thinking like that crowd would have really liked this. The South Park crowd, even like the sausage
sausage party.
Yeah, like even that party, that little crowd would have enjoyed this. So it's like, okay, if you're leaning straight into that one, then definitely do it. I think the fact that they tried to straddle so many different audiences just made it like unappealing for the one.
Yeah, and he really doesn't have very many Adam Sandler doesn't have that many R-rated movies, especially up at this point. He'd really heavily been in the PG-13 crowd.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
I get that.
So his first one, like, it's not going to be he never was going to do an animated film and push it that far.
Yeah, but he probably should have.
Yes, he probably should have, indeed. So he has this kind of like very paper thin romance with this girl.
Yes.
And it was a bummer because like
rekindling of a situationship.
Right. Jennifer Friedman. And see, in this one, it says Alison Krauss provides her singing voice and then Jackie Titone was the voice of her. So she got a singing voice, yet Adam Sandler did not. And then for Benjamin Friedman, the kid, Jason Houseman provides his singing voice. Again, back in the 2000s and the 90s, they understood it's okay to cast someone and then have someone else do their singing voice. Except for mysteriously Adam Sandler, who apparently can sing like a god. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying, though.
I do.
Like,
it's too smooth. It's too buttery. If you contrast it with the Hanukkah, Hanukkah, like, okay, wow, you have quite the range, my friend.
Yeah, and you just choose when to employ it. I get it. Here's my question. I would like to know, anybody who is Jewish, please send us a message on what movie would be the best thing to watch next year so that we can have like a solid Hanukkah film that is like, okay, this is something that, I mean, maybe this is, I don't know. Tell me,
right?
Is this the movie that you guys watch as far as like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have the staying power that one would think, but
right.
I don't know. Yeah. Let me know.
And then you also noticed the critic was there. John Lovitz. Yes. He went up to, he was the guy who actually receives the award that this Whitey was going to retire. It was his 35th year doing this. And like, how evil are these people? Come on. This guy has been a staple of your community for 35 years. You're telling me they're just so evil or ignorant that they ignore him on his 34th year. He doesn't even get a special award if you're not going to give him the award.
And they're making him retire.
Yes. And so, the critic, John Lovitz, gets it. He walks up like, hey, I know you. It even kind of looked like him. So I thought it was, again, Adam Sandler bringing more of his friends.
Why? Why? Just because.
Yes, just because. And there were just lots of really bizarre things. For example, Mrs. Triple Nipple. Why?
I mean, I definitely understand why that is funny.
And then she's breastfeeding the babies at the end. Oh my gosh, she has triplets.
Oh my gosh, that was a weird, like, anytime you saw that animated, it was just weird. It messed with me.
Yes.
I don't know.
One thing I did enjoy was just the reminiscent of the 2000 mall, where at Christmas time, man, because there's this video going around on X right now, and it's just showing the mall during the 80s, but the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, they're all kind of the same. These malls went all out. They had these huge Christmas trees, all these decorations. Santa was usually in the center of the big plaza. Some of these malls kind of converged and had different, like a wing or a hub, right? And the others were spokes. And I definitely remember going to Fiesta Mall and waiting in line to see Santa. And I loved going Christmas shopping with my mom. And this definitely reminded me of that. The mall is a lost thing. They're still around, but they're not as ubiquitous as they used to be. Fiesta Mall, for example, has now been completely demolished because they tried for years to get tenants and it just didn't work. So now they're going to turn it into something else, use land for something else. But yeah, I'll include a link in the show notes because this video is just incredibly nostalgic if you grew up during this era. And I did think it presented that in a way that got my nostalgia bells ringing.
Yeah. I think, well, especially because the malls made it an event to go and to walk around. Like I still walk around Costco just because it's like, oh, what kind of toys are you selling? Like, I'm not going to buy any of these things, but I'm like, oh, that's fun. Look at that. It's a foosball table. It's a, like throwing the basketball hoops kind of thing. Like, oh, I like seeing these big kind of gifts that are like, oh, it kind of reminds me of my own childhood. But that's really the only place nowadays that you can like go and like walk around and just kind of see what people have to offer, because at the mall that was what it was, and every store did their big thing to try to get people to come in and make it more of an event. While I think now it's just such the commercialization before, like I actually respect the 90s commercialization because it was the event. It was trying to get people out and together. And this is now just buy my thing. Go online, buy my thing. And I don't want to pay for an employee. I don't want to pay for a storefront. I don't want to pay for any of these extra things. Just give me my money. And so it's just become a very, I don't know, the season of shopping. I don't know. Shopping has just kind of been even more hollow than it ever was. But I mean, even then, I feel like as a kid, it was just kind of like a magical world when you would go to the malls.
Yes, indeed.
What other things we had? The lady with the shoes. Okay, there was the song where so he ends up he goes and he lives with Whitey and Eleanor, and within the course of a song he goes from like being his crude and unwitting self all the way to being like, hey Eleanor, you're great, and it's like him completely making this roundabout change. And I guess this is the montage song that suggests a character change and path without actually having to put in the effort of making the change. And so he becomes this like nice guy, kind of like you're starting to like him. And as the narrator says, like, just when you're starting to like him. And then the moment they bring up his parents passing is he's can't deal with any of that those memories or anything. And so he's just goes back to his unlikable self. And they really tried to throw in at least a message of like, you should let your emotions go. Like at the very end, he's like, he's coming
the catharsis.
And he comes
you need to process it. You need to really let it all consume you so it can leave you.
Yeah. And he goes into the party and he's like, just let me talk. And then she stands up and she's like, finally he's crying, like as if to say, finally he's crying or letting himself feel the emotion of it all. And it's just like, that was just kind of a weird thing. Like, I don't think that she was really that, like, I don't know if she remembered the fact that he, or even recognized the fact that he had never cried as a child. And maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but it was just kind of a weird thing for her to be like, yes, I've been waiting for you to do this. Like, have you though? But also another random thing that I'm just going to throw out there. Her voice didn't seem like an animated voice. Like it just seemed like too regular,
too normal.
And it made me think of like, what is the difference between this kind of acting versus a character actor in like a normal animated film? Like, why do I have that, why is there a
distinction in your mind?
Yeah. Why is there that distinction? Like, what is different that I am not noticing, or I haven't noticed until now, that like her voice talking, it just seemed very regular and seemed very just like off the cuff. When I see other people that are like, I see other movies and they seem to be acting similarly, but not. I don't know. Why do I feel this way, Morgan? Did this come across for you? Or am I just...
Repeat the question?
Well, like, why do I think that her voice was off? Because it's not like she was acting differently, but it just sounded...
I think it's because she was such a realistic character. Her design was very realistic, and she was just really normal. There was nothing wacky or over the top about her. Adam Sandler in himself is a wacky guy. He's going to be a little bit more over the top. Whitey was over the top. The aunt, the sister was over the top. And so you got this lady who's just completely normal and mundane in almost every way, shape, and form. And they don't even give someone who could just maybe push her a little over the edge to give her a little bit pizzazz. I get it. She's supposed to be just a normal person in this world. Yeah. But they didn't hire someone who really was expecting to do that or wanting to do that. It's just like, okay, just play yourself essentially. And that's what we got.
Yeah. And I think that it was a weird thing that they would try to like have a bit of like force a relationship. I don't know, some type of a relationship between them, because she's obviously much better off than he is. Like, yes, like the fact is that because in her situation, she has a kid, she knows responsibility, she is responsible, she's working like all the time, and he has let his childhood stick with him. And so it's like I don't see that as ever happening, like, at all, or nor should it. Like, so I wasn't really a fan of that. Like, I can, as a single person, I can be very like, I can be very sympathetic to somebody's situation, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to date them. Like, I've had like, of course, my own situations, and okay, yes, this is why I am where I am, but I also see why you are where you are, and our stories are not the same. And just because we're single does not mean we'll get along, okay? This is for any of those people who are like, oh, you're single and you're single, you should get together. Like, no, this is not true.
No, I mean, after we've seen what he's done he's almost going to be serving 10 years in prison. He gets off, by just a nice guy helping him out. He's continually doing rough it. He's just a hooligan doing all sorts of shenanigans in the community. He's day drinking and binge drinking the whole time. He finally gets his act together and they reconcile at the end. And it's too little too late. That's fine. You can reconcile. They didn't show them as having like a full on relationship at that point. But I think Jennifer really needs to watch herself with this one. There are a lot of red flags with Davey, and I'm so happy for Davey that he's able to, confront his demons and steer his ship the right way. But run, Jennifer, run.
That does not mean that there is a future between this. Like, I'm just going to put it out there.
Honestly, I thought at a certain point it was going to be that the boy was going to be his son.
Oh my gosh.
Jason.
Uh-huh.
And I think that would have been a little better. Like, maybe they were a thing in high school. She got pregnant. I feel like this is me every single movie over the past.
Here's how it should have ended.
5 episodes. It's like, here's Morgan's take on how this. But hear me out, okay? So they're high school sweethearts. The parents die. He impregnates her. They break up. She ends up having the baby. Let's say he didn't want to have the baby or whatever. So he's out of her life. They still live in the same town, but they don't associate. He has no relationship with the son other than the fact that Jason really just knows who he is, but he doesn't have a relationship with him. And so they see each other in the mall, and maybe it's this awkward moment, like, oh, it's a Game Boy. Oh, whatever. It's like, oh, I can relate to you. I know what that is, but still it's like, oh, you're my dad. And so you can see like the son really wanting to reach an olive branch to have this relationship with his dad, because he doesn't. But, the mom's like ushering him away because, oh, he's a drunk, let's get out of here. Like, he could be drunk in that.
I don't want to deal.
Maybe. Yeah. Have him be drunk on one of his, benders at this moment, and then have the rest of the movie play out where he's overcoming this. He's trying to maybe reconcile this. They keep bumping into each other, and then at the end of the day, he has this redemption thing. Like, he really truly does change where it's believable, and they're able to reconcile. And then we can see that maybe the family is back together, even though the family's been apart for so many years and never together. Like,
or even just become a good dad.
Yes, even just being a part of the dad's or the son's life. That'd be cool.
I would have been like, okay, I like this. Yeah.
That would have had a little bit more satisfying of an ending, because at least the son's getting what he needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of, everybody kind of makes that full turn. And you actually see that, okay, he wasn't like, from the time he was 12 years old, just a deadbeat kind of thing. And from foster home to foster home. I think that had the story kind of like gone to that level, narratively speaking, it would have been a little bit more of a better turn.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I think I spruced this up quite nicely. Get rid of the poop jokes. I mean, there was also a lot of dark humor in here. The fact that there's multiple seizures that happen throughout, and it ends on Whitey going into another seizure, and he's having a grand old time about it. Like, what? I can appreciate that for the dark humor that it is. Fine, you're going to go there. Excellent. Right. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that before. That's definitely an Adam Sandler thing. Go for it. You know, comedies are rare nowadays.
Yeah.
And this is not your typical comedy that you're going to be taking grandma to, but it's a certain type of comedy. I think that's what this all boils down to. This was a particular movie for a particular group of people who are fans of a particular person who he had done lots of movies up until this point and really had a fan base. So it could have worked if the story was a little better. And that's ultimately the problem with this, is nothing works about 8 Crazy Nights. I mean, the characters really don't work. The story isn't there. The music is hit or miss. I mean, it's like, is this the 90s? Does the Disney Renaissance still have such a grasp on animated films? Like, whereas a Adam Sandler movie had to really end up being a full-fledged musical. Like, okay, I would have thought, okay, he's going to sing the Hanukkah song and like, that's good. But no, we got all these other things in there. The animation, while very pretty and nice at times, there's moments where it's off. The comedy fails so much. Enough with the poop jokes. And ultimately the theming. Like, hey, you wanted to create this really cool Hanukkah themed film that people could enjoy again and again, you know, as you tend to do with holiday Christmas films. Let's do a Hanukkah version of that. And this is what you gave them. You could have given us a really funny, hilarious comedy. There's tons of Christmas comedies that, you know, you go back to time and time again.
Yeah.
But you had to lace it with poop jokes at every turn.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, I'm glad that I watched it just to like know what it was.
Yeah.
Now I no longer ever have
I never need to see this again. And if it's ever on TV, it will be changed immediately. Which, by the way, if you want to watch this, it is available on Tubi. And Tubi is this strange streaming service that actually, it's free. You can actually log in and watch it as a guest, which I thought was amazing. So I was like, excellent, I need to watch this for tomorrow, and I don't want to create an account right now. But if you leave the app, it won't remember your progress, so you manually have to go back and find it. But so I did sign up for an account at that point. But it's free. It has ads, but I had very limited ads. I was shocked the lack of ads. It was almost towards none for the first half, and then towards the end, I started getting a few ads. Maybe it's like they're like, we know this is a crappy movie, so we're not going to interrupt you. Once you kind of get invested, then we'll start peppering you with ads. I felt that experience for sure. But the hilarious thing is that Tubi, this free little streaming service that just, you know, shows various movies, or what has quite a catalog, is doing better than Disney Plus. And continually is constantly beating Disney Plus in the streaming ratings. And I just find that hilarious, because Disney's throwing billions of dollars into that and can't get it right. But yeah, if you want to watch this, you know, and this is soon after the release of this film, go check it out on Tubi. That's my little Tubi plug. I was satisfied with my Tubi experience.
I like it. I had to sign up for AMC Plus through Amazon for their 7-day free trial, and I am unsubscribing now.
Let's see. But so, what would you rate 8 Crazy Nights? Wait, before we do.
Okay,
before we do our review, our ratings. Okay. Before we do our ratings of 8 Crazy Nights, I asked on X, I said, hey, what's your mini review of Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights? And we get Stefan says, jokes don't entirely work and it can rely too much on gross out gags, but it is one of Adam Sandler's most self-aware roles. He often plays terrible people we're meant to find charming. Not here with this character actually being called out for his behavior. Then Kyle slash Kelly says, was low-key obsessed with this at age 11-ish as someone growing up in a New England town, much like the one in the movie. While I do think the movie is a battlefield of tones, I think there is some neat stuff in there still. I think the visuals are often very well done. So thank you, both of you. I think that's right. There's a few nuggets here that have potential. And it just really doesn't stick the landing. It's like constantly tripping as it goes. It's like, stop. It's like, nope, the poop's going to freeze. Nope, the deer are going to lick the poop. It's like, stop it. Enough. No more poop. It just like keeps going down that hill because it thinks it's funny when it's actually completely the opposite. So I'm going to rate this movie. Wow, I haven't even thought about what I would rate it. But
I know, I've had another.
Was such a terrible movie. I think the premise was a bait and switch. I was all excited for a Hanukkah film. And I think it really could have been resolved by making the Hanukkah aspect a little more front and center rather than like, it's a nice Hanukkah next to the Christmas tree or the Santa Claus, whatever it was. And maybe have that 8 Crazy Nights be the time period that was locking us in. And I know it kind of was like, oh, it's set during Hanukkah, but I didn't feel like it was a time constraint.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there was some like hard deadline that happened on the 8th night, like, okay, if this doesn't happen, you are going to prison. I don't know. Maybe that was implied, but I didn't, and the police were chasing him, of course, but whatever. I would have liked something like, you got to change your act in 8 days or it's over. And like each night have something terrible happen to him that like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So, but rather than it just happened over the course of 8 nights that align with Hanukkah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. The poop humor is terrible and disgusting and gross. I don't like it. Adam Sandler's character is funny. I do like Adam Sandler's humor for what it is. The non-poop stuff aside, like he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to do a version of himself, and they tried to give this guy heart, and they tried to give Whitey heart, and there's like a good happy ending, but it just didn't deliver. And there's so many things. The animation, like I said, it's really good. It's shockingly good, especially when you see some things now. But in the end of the day, I'm going to have to give this 1.5 stars. It was not enjoyable in the least. And I think the constant barrage of poop really did it in for me, where I just had it with this movie by the end of it.
Yeah. I'd go just a little bit above and give it 2 stars. It's once I got into it and once I accepted the fact that, okay, this is what we're watching, then it just didn't, my standards dropped considerably. And so I was just saying, I just accepted it for what it was. And I'm not saying that it was good, but I'm just saying like, it was, there were enough moments. The ending was nice enough that it made me be like, all right, 2 stars. It's fine.
Yeah. You know what? I think they know that. They know that this was a turd.
Oh, man.
This was the beginning and the end of the Happy Madison animation dynasty.
I'm sure I've heard him mention something about that company at some point in time. And
yeah,
I'm sure it has something to do with that.
He doesn't talk about this movie anymore. It seems there was a period where it got brought up, but now he doesn't even mention this from what I've read in interviews. So, like, obviously, it was not one of your highlights. So let us know what you think of 8 Crazy Nights. Go to rotoscopers.com/328 and give us a mini review there. We also include in the show notes the X post where you can leave your comments there if you wanted to, and just hit us up all the places. We're trying to be more active on X.
Yeah, and you have inspired me to at least say something every once in a while.
Hey, nice,
as well.
So follow Chelsea at, what are you? Chelsea M.
Chelsea
Robeson. Follow. Old habits die hard with the Robeson. You will forever be a Robeson to me.
I know. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah. That's for another day. Go back and listen to the podcast and you will hear the story. But follow Chelsea Robson and at Morgan Stradling on X, and of course follow at Rotoscopers on X. It's still forever Twitter to me, but I'm trying to be up with the times and call it X. I know some people call it Twix, which is a merger of the two names, and I like that. Follow us on Twix. But then people are like, "What are you talking about? What's Twix?" So fine, I'll call it what it is, Twitter X. And happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay, so here's a question that I have for Morgan. What is one of your New Year's resolutions starting in the next 2 days?
You know what? My New Year's resolutions is to really get off my phone throughout the day.
Oh, yeah.
I have so many projects that didn't get done in 2024, and it's because a lot of time was just spent scrolling on my free time. Because when you're a mom, you're really tired, and you get a free moment where you can just sit on your bed while it's nap time, or kids just went to school, or man, it starts early. It's like already an hour in. You're like, I need a break. The moms know, okay, you get it. And, I feel like there's a lot of wasted time because I'm just on my phone doing something. And so what I want to do is create like a massive list of things that just, a little 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there can get done. And not allow the phone to dominate my life. I really don't enjoy that, like, my kids walk in on me and they see me on my phone constantly.
Yeah.
And we don't do screens or tablets at all. And so I think that's very hypocritical of myself to like always be on my phone. So my goal is when the children are around, the phone isn't even around, just to be present with them and work on those projects. Like, for example, earlier this year, I had a goal of auditioning for an orchestra that's not necessarily a community orchestra. It's definitely a step above, and it's out of my range. And I decided, I've always wanted to join this orchestra. I have 2 friends that are in it, that they got in really early. And once you're in, it's hard. You don't get kicked out. You know what I mean? And I had an opportunity to do that. And I auditioned years ago in 2011, and I invited a friend along who was slightly better than me. And he got in and not me. And that was always so disappointing to me. I'm like, why did I invite him? And then he got in a motorcycle accident like 2 months later and broke his hand. And so quit the orchestra.
That's so like right. I remember that now.
Yeah, the orchestra was never a thing for him. It wasn't a desire or a goal in his life. It was just something fun that we just did.
It was wasted on you.
It was wasted on him. And then I kind of in my mind thought like the orchestra is so amazing. It's a choir and orchestra. And the choir is really the star. But the orchestra is something I've always wanted to do. I always thought it was out of my league. So I ended up taking lessons from a lady who was the concert master for 12 years. And she just recently left. And so she's incredibly accomplished and phenomenal. And she's helped my friend, one of my friends who's in it, was her instructor who helped prepare her for audition. So I did that. And, I really set a hard schedule and goal of like, okay, nap time, I am practicing. And if the baby sleeps a half hour or an hour and a half, I'm going to practice that entire time. And so for 2 full months, I practiced and I rehearsed, and I got so much better. My improvement skyrocketed. And it was just crazy the amount of growth I was able to have by just putting the phone away and using that time for something productive instead of just mindless. So I did not get in. However, I'm still planning on auditioning, and I'm going to audition for the next time. And so I think that kind of gave me an idea of, hey, put the phone away and focus on these other goals. So I'm going to make a list of these goals that I want to do in 2024 and make them very obvious and put them somewhere so I can make it happen.
2025.
I've been saying 2024 this whole time. Classic. You're at school and on your paper, you write 2024.
Oh no, I'm still in the past.
2025. Yes.
Oh man. Yeah. So this coming year, I went back to school and I started trying to finish my bachelor's. And so I am set to finish in December of 2025. Woo! So that is the main bulk of time that I'm like, extra time will go to that. And as far as work, I make websites for businesses that are more local level. And so, if you know a local business owner that needs a new website, let them know. And so I really like to get that business kind of going, so it's like really stable, and then also get Arizona State University, get my education, get that finished. And so those are like the 2 things that I'm like, okay, no, this is like something I have to do. And then we also have the live stream that we're planning on starting in February. With Rotoscopers. So it's like, okay, how do we kind of just maneuver our lives so that we can get all the things done? And I agree that putting away the phone is probably going to be the biggest help to that.
Yes.
So
we shall make a pact together.
We can do that. Yeah.
Okay. We'll
if anybody would like to
draft
join us,
out a contract, we can sign it and then sign it in blood.
Yes. We can send out an email.
It's like, what? Not that far.
I'm like, well, how about we just start like an email, and that way we have to go. We don't have to go on. Obviously, you can read your emails on your phone, but like it would encourage you to go to your computer and have a set time that you do these things. Back in the old days when we only had the computers to deal with. But if anybody out there would like to join us on our no phone January or something, let us know. And I will make here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and right now I'm going to make a sign up form. You can go there and say, I want to join, to say I am not going to do I'm going to cut back on my screen time.
Yes. You get to choose what that is. We're not going to say no phones ever. We understand we live in a modern age. We need it. But, as I'm saying, like, hey, hit us up on X. Like, obviously there'll be a time and place, but it's going to be very, you get to choose what that is. That'd be really fun. No phone January, asterisk, whatever that means for you. And we'll all do it together.
Lower screen time January. So, yeah. And that's one of the fun things, at least, that Apple says, hey, let's try and make you, let's at least give you a knowledge of what you're doing.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll make that little sign up right now. And in the notes of this episode, either on your podcasting app in the info there, you can click on there, or on rotoscopers.com/328, you can find that sign up there as well.
Nice.
What
you see what I just did?
Yeah. Like, what
terrible.
Are we doing?
Those are terrible.
Phone-free jamboree.
I just posted
January jamboree.
Give me some ideas for a clever, fun name for no phone January. And it says January joy without jitters. Yikes! That's how you know you're an addict. Phone-free January jamboree.
I kind of
Jettison's
like that
January junk. What? Just January, no jive. I don't think you understood the prompt, Brock.
I don't think so.
Jolly January without jangling. Jovial January junket. Jarring January juxtaposition. Jiveless January journey. Well, I told it to give me one. They gave me a different one, but I said give it with more alliteration. It said digitally detox January. I'm like,
digital detox. Yeah.
A digital detox is good, but it doesn't have the January, so, okay. Well, we tried. So just go and sign up, and then we will send you. Maybe we'll have a name by then.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and send out like a daily, good job for, let's, check your phone and make sure that you're going less. That's what Rotoscopers will do for you. We will help you do less.
I love it. All right. Well, that's all we have for this episode and this year of the Animation Addicts Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us and for all the support. Next year is going to be really great, so be sure to subscribe, stay tuned, tell your friends, share the show, and of course, leave a 5-star review. It's the best way to give us a little Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's present. It's the easiest thing. If you haven't done it yet, you got to do it, and we appreciate you, love you, and we'll see you in the new year. Until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. Love that all the way. Don't eat chips, please. That's not a good food.
Don't tell your kids what I'm eating.
You eat chips too?
I'm not eating chips, but I'm eating cookies.
They're
my friend gave me a whole platter of an assortment of goodies, and I'm like, why, yes, that shall be my breakfast right now.
Nice. All right, well, let's get into this one. That was so special. That's my impression of Adam Sandler, in case you didn't know.
I like it a lot.
Davy Sandler, king of the poop frontier.
Oh.
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.